everyone, it's me, Lauren Cadillac with Cadillac Law, aka OG Cadillac, aka Mother of the Decade, aka looks 10 years younger than she really is. And I'm coming to you with some hot tea fresh off the press. And we know the universe has our back because I was supposed to be driving to a hearing right now. And instead, I had time to come talk to y'all. It's not exciting. Okay, so I have spoken briefly before. Oh, hold on. Before we get into that, it is September. It is my birth month. This month, we are contributing 43% of our earnings here on YouTube. That's merch, memberships, super likes, those things. 43% of that is going to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Thank you in advance for your contribution. We're doing 43% for my 43rd birthday. Okay. As y'all know, or you should know, I have been following the Diddy scandal. Well, at least as far as one could, right? Because it seemed that even though the feds had raided his homes some time ago, nothing had really come of it until yesterday. He was finally indicted. We're going to start here. United States District Court, Southern District of New York. So this is federal, y'all. This is not games. This is the federal government. They don't come at you with an indictment like this unless they have a case. The feds do not just start fights. They're not like the state government. Not like the YSL where the state will come after you because they're assholes. No, this is the Fed. The Fed, when the Fed is coming for you, I hope you have receipts because they do for sure. Okay, here we go. Here's the indictment. Count 1, racketeering. We're very familiar with racketeering because of our familiarity with the YSL RICO trial out of Atlanta. For decades, Sean Combs, a.k.a. Puff Daddy, a.k.a. P. Diddy, a.k.a. Diddy, a.k.a. PD, a.k.a. Love. I never heard him called Love. The defendant abused, threatened, and coerced women and others around him to fulfill his sexual desires, protect his reputation, and conceal his conduct. To do so, Combs, all caps, relied on the employees, resources, and influence of the multifaceted business empire that he led and controlled, creating a criminal enterprise whose members and associates engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other crimes, sex trafficking, forced labor, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. That's a strong start. Coming out the gate running, man. Woo! Okay, P. Diddy operated his business headquartered at various times in Manhattan and LA under a variety of US-based corporate entities, including Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global, collectively called the Combs Businesses. Corporate entities in the Combs business included, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcohol spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network, and a media company. Damn, that's a lot. At all times relative to this indictment, the defendant engaged in a persistent and pervasive pattern of abuse towards women and other individuals. This abuse was at times verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual. As part of his pattern of abuse, Combs manipulated women to participate in highly orchestrated performances of sexual activity with male commercial sex workers. At times, Combs and others acting at his direction made arrangements for women and commercial sex workers to fly to Combs' location. Combs ensured participation from the women by, among other things, obtaining and distributing narcotics to them, controlling their careers, leveraging his financial support and threatening to cut off the same, and using intimidation and violence. That financial support, my mom used to try to leverage financial support. That is why I support myself. Ain't nobody gonna leverage against me. No. That shit is real. People will use that to coerce you strongly. Physical abuse by Sean Combs, the defendant, was recurrent and widely known. On numerous occasions from at least, it says in or about, but it should say on or about 2009, and continuing for years, Combs assaulted women by, among other things, striking, punching, dragging, throwing objects at, and kicking them. These assaults were at times witnessed by others and included one instance at a LA hotel on or about March 2016, was captured on video and later publicly reported, where Combs kicked, dragged, and threw a vase at a woman as she was attempting to leave. We all saw that terrible Cassie video out of the hotel, which is how we knew everything she said in her petition was absolutely 100% true. Here we are, citation to that incident as part of the reason this man has been indicted and may be going to prison if proven guilty. When a member of the security staff intervened, he attempted to bribe the staff member to ensure silence. And I guess he didn't just attempt, he actually succeeded, because nobody said shit about it for like 8 years. His violence was not limited to this woman, extended to employees, witnesses to his abuse, and others. He used the business, including certain employees, to carry out, facilitate, and cover up his abuse and commercial sex. Those employees, including security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, and other close associates, acted as Combs intermediaries, and their contact was facilitated and assisted by Combs' control of the Combs business. Ooh, the Combs enterprise. Dun, dun, dun. We have heard the word enterprise actually used just today in the YSL trial, trying to call YSL an enterprise. So we've seen similar language coming out of RICO cases in Atlanta. All right, from on or about 2008 through on or about the date of the filing of this indictment, the defendants and others, known and unknown, were members and associates of a criminal organization, the Combs Enterprise. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise engaged in and attempted to engage in, among other activities, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purposes of prostitution, coercion, and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics offenses, kidnapping, arson, bribery, and obstruction of justice. One of these is not like the other, and it's arson. I mean, trafficking, coercion, prostitution, narcotics, that's all. But arson? Arson. The Combs Enterprise, including its leadership, its members, and associates, constituted an enterprise as defined by Title 18 of the U.S. Code, Section 1961-4, that is, a group of individuals associated in fact, although not a legal entity. The Combs Enterprise consists of entities within the Combs business, including but not limited to Bad Boy Entertainment, Combs Enterprises, and Combs Global, individuals employed by and associated with the Combs business, and others known and unknown. The Combs Enterprise constituted an ongoing organization whose members functioned as a continuing unit for a common purpose of achieving the objective of the Combs Enterprise. The Combs Enterprise was engaged in, and its activities affected interstate and foreign commerce. The Combs Enterprise is operated in the Southern District of New York and elsewhere. All right, they have to put in that piece because they need to establish jurisdiction. Here's why this court can hear this case, because these events happened here. At all times relevant to the indictment, the defendant was the leader of Combs Enterprises. The defendant and others, known and unknown, participated in unlawful and other activities related to the conduct of Combs Enterprises affairs. These individuals included certain Combs business employees, such as members of Combs security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and high-ranking supervisors, as well as other close associates of Combs. Okay, so now they've established this is what the enterprise is. Okay, and now they're coming in, this is the purpose of the enterprise. So you got to establish the enterprise because they want to do RICO, right? So this is a unlawful enterprise. So here we've established this is the enterprise, here's what it is. Now we're going into the purpose of why the enterprise exists. The purpose of the enterprises included the following: operating a global business in the media, entertainment, and lifestyle industries, such as, among other things, record labels, a recording studio, an apparel line, an alcoholic spirits business, a marketing agency, and a television network and media company. Preserving, protecting, and promoting and enhancing the power, reputation, and brand of Sean Combs as a musician, entrepreneur, and figure in the industry. Enriching members and associates of the enterprise, including its leaders, Combs, and in particular those who demonstrated loyalty to Combs and willingness to conceal his crimes. Preserving, protecting, promoting, and enhancing the power of Combs Enterprise, including the power of its leader, the defendant, through violence, use of firearms, threats of violence, coercion, and verbal, emotional, and physical and sexual abuse. Fulfilling the personal desires of Combs, particularly those related to Combs's sexual gratification, including through the exploitation of women and the use of commercial sex workers. Enabling Combs and other members and associates of the Combs Enterprise to engage in unlawful acts of violence, including sexual violence, sex trafficking, forced labor, interstate transportation for purpose of prostitution, coercion and enticement to engage in prostitution, narcotics distribution and other crimes, and concealing the commission of such acts. Securing absolute loyalty from members of Combs Enterprise, including through acts of violence and threats. And protecting the Combs Enterprise and its members and associates, including Combs, from detection and prosecution by law enforcement authorities through acts of intimidation, manipulation, bribery, and threats of retaliation against individuals who witnessed the crimes committed by its members. Okay. Here is the enterprise. Here is why the enterprise exists. And now we're getting into the means and the methods of the enterprise. So here's how the enterprise operated. Now, the existence of the enterprise is really just so that Diddy can get off. Really. That's what that boils down to. So, okay, means and methods. The defendant and the other associates conducted and participated in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs Enterprise, including the following. Wielding their power and prestige as the role of the businesses to intimidate, threaten, and lure female victims into his orbit under the pretense of romantic relationship. Then he used force, threats of force, and coercion to cause victims to engage in extended sex acts with male commercial sex workers that Combs referred to as, among other things, as freak-offs. So we've already heard about the freak-offs. So maybe we're going to learn a little bit more about the freak-offs here. Freak-offs were elaborate and produced sex performances that Combs arranged, directed, masturbated during, and often electronically recorded. In arranging these freak-offs, Combs, with the assistance of members and the associates of Combs Enterprise, transported and caused to be transported commercial sex workers across state lines and internationally. Freak-offs occurred regularly, sometimes lasting multiple days and often involving multiple commercial sex workers. During freak-offs, Combs distributed a variety of controlled substances to victims, in part to keep the victims obedient and compliant. Sometimes, unbeknownst to the victims, Combs kept videos he filmed of victims engaging in sex acts with commercial sex workers. After freak-offs, Combs and the victims typically received IV fluids to recover from the physical exertion and drug use. I am clutching my pearls, y'all. What? What? Days? So much sex that you have to take an IV? Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise include high-ranking supervisors, security staff, household staff, personal assistants, and other Combs business employees, facilitated the freak-offs by, among other things, booking the hotel rooms, stocking the hotel rooms in advance of the required freak-off supplies, including controlled substances, baby oil, lubricant, extra linens, and lighting, cleaning the hotel room after the freak-offs to try to mitigate room damage, arranging for travel for victims, commercial sex workers, and Combs to and from freak-offs, resupplying Combs with requested supplies, delivering large sums of cash to Combs to pay the commercial sex workers, and scheduling the delivery of IV fluids. On or about March 2024, during searches of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and LA, law enforcement seized various freak-off supplies, including narcotics and more than 1,000 bottles of baby oil and lubricant. 1,000 bottles? What the? Like, I don't like running out of supplies, okay? I'm known to shop at Sam's Club. We have extra reams of paper. I have extra toilet paper at home. I have extra of everything. So I don't play games. But 1,000? That's... Combs subjected victims to physical, emotional, and verbal abuse, causing the victims to engage in the freak-offs. Combs maintained control over his victims through, among other things, physical violence, promise of career opportunities, granting and threatening to withhold financial support, and by other coercive means, including tracking their whereabouts, dictating the victims' appearances, monitoring their medical records, controlling their housing, and supplying them with controlled substances. During and separate from freak-offs, Combs, among other things, hit, kicked, threw objects at, and dragged victims at times by their hair. These assaults often resulted in injuries that took days or weeks to heal. Combs also threatened victims' careers and livelihoods, including if they resisted participating in freak-offs. Man, Cassie's testimony is going to be... whoa. Victims believed they could not refuse Combs' demands without risking their financial job security or without repercussions in the form of physical or emotional abuse. Combs also used sensitive, embarrassing, and incriminating records that he made during freak-offs as collateral to ensure the continued obedience and silence of the victims. Members and associates of the Combs enterprise, including Combs' security personnel, at times carried firearms. On more than one occasion, Combs himself carried or brandished firearms to intimidate and threaten others, including victims and witnesses to his abuse. On or about March 2024, during search of Combs' residence in Miami, Florida, and LA, law enforcement seized firearms and ammunition, including 3 AR-15s with defaced serial numbers, as well as a drum magazine. Defaced serial numbers? Really, Diddy? You are a 53-year-old millionaire. Why do you... I guess to continue the abuse so that he can abuse and control. Okay, fine. Crazy. Members and associates of Combs Enterprise enable Combs' control over victims by following his directions regarding financial payments to victims, advancing or suppressing the victims' career opportunities, and acquiring controlled substances Combs used to keep victims compliant. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise at times witness Combs' violence towards the victims or the victims' injuries caused by Combs without intervening. Instead, members and associates of the Combs Enterprise help conceal the violence and abuse by, among other things, assisting Combs in monitoring and preventing victims from leaving locations such as hotels or Combs residences. These occasions included incidents when a victim was required to remain in hiding, sometimes for several days at a time, to recover from injuries Combs inflicted without being publicly observed. Members and associates of the Combs Enterprise also assisted Combs in locating and contacting victims who attempted to flee his abuse. It's crazy. But you gotta wonder how many of these members of the Enterprise and household employees and stuff have seen him behave this way and are afraid of him and therefore complying with him because they know he'll come for them. When employees witness to his abuse or others threaten Combs' authority or reputation, Combs and members and associates of the Enterprise engage in acts of violence, threats of financial and reputational harm, and verbal abuse. These acts of violence include kidnapping and arson. So if you are someone who's witnessing one of these women be abused, you're not going to say anything because you don't want your house burned down. You don't want your child kidnapped. I mean, that's some really fucked up shit, man. When Combs' authority or reputation was threatened by the possibility of negative publicity or legal or law enforcement action against him, including on or about late 2023, following public allegations of Combs' crimes, Combs and members and associates of the enterprise pressured witnesses and victims, including through attempted bribery, to stay silent and not report what they experienced or knew to law enforcement. On phone calls, Combs and other members and associates of the enterprise provided these victims and witnesses a false narrative of events in an effort to conceal his crimes. Ooh. Okay. So we have, what is the enterprise? Why does the enterprise exist? What does the enterprise do to, move itself forward? And now here we get to the grand prize of the racketeering conspiracy. From at least on or about 2008 through on or about the date of filing of this indictment, the defendant and others engaged in the activities which affected interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly combined, conspired, confederated, and agreed together and with each other to violate racketeering laws of the U.S., that is, to conduct and participate directly and indirectly in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise through a pattern of racketeering activity, as that term's defined in Title 18, U.S. Code Section 1961-1 and Section 1961-5, consisting of multiple acts involving kidnapping, chargeable under provisions of state law, multiple acts involving arson, chargeable under the following provisions of the California Penal Code, multiple acts involving bribery, chargeable under the California Penal Code, multiple acts indictable under Title 18 of the U.S. Code relating to tampering with a witness, multiple acts under Title 18 U.S. Code relating to forced labor, multiple acts under Title 18 relating to sex trafficking, multiple acts under Title 18 relating to transportation and inducement to travel for purposes of prostitution and other illegal sexual activities, multiple offenses involving possession with intent to distribute or distribution of narcotics and controlled substances, including cocaine, oxycodone, alprazolam, which I don't remember what that is, some kind of methamphetamine. I don't know what any of these are. Ketamine. I know what ketamine is, kind of. Okay, drugs. It is giving him drugs. Okay. Notice of a special sentencing factor. From 2009 until about 18, in New York, as part of his agreement to conduct and participate in the conduct of the affairs of the Combs enterprise, Sean P. Diddy Combs agreed to, in and affecting interstate and foreign commerce, knowingly recruit, entice, harbor, transport, provide, obtain, advertise, maintain, patronize, and solicit by any means a person knowing and in reckless disregard of the fact that the means of the force, threats of force, fraud, and coercion as described in Title 18 and any combination of such means would be used to cause the person to engage in a commercial sex act. Okay, so charge 1, RICO. All right. Count 2. Victim 1, it says. From 2009 to 18, the defendant in and affecting interstate commerce, the Title 18, which I just told, he recruited and maintained Victim 1 and attempted, aided, abetted, and willfully caused Victim 1 to engage in commercial sex act, and in reckless disregard of the fact that Victim 1 was engaging in commercial sex acts as a result of fraud. Okay. Count 3, transportation to engage in prostitution. That seems pretty self-explanatory. Forfeiture allegations. As a result of committing the offenses in count 1, the defendant shall forfeit to the U.S., pursuant to Title 18, any and all interests the defendant acquired or maintained in violation of Title 18, and any interest in all securities, claims against, property, or contract right of any kind affording a source of influence over enterprise name described herein. Okay, so this is saying that the government is going to seize his property, including and in particularly the Combs Enterprises, Bad Boy Entertainment, the record label, etc. One thing I had heard is that earlier in this year, 24, before the, or I guess, sorry, maybe 23, before the Cassie things came out, Diddy had started selling off his stocks and liquidating his assets. So he might have already protected his assets so that this Section 8, Paragraph 18 isn't going to affect him. Now, I don't know that for a fact, but I do know that he started selling stocks and trying to transfer and liquidate. And so there's a good chance that he's already transferred many of his assets in a way to protect them from that Paragraph 18. Here in 19, it's also asking for more of his property to be turned over. Same with 20. Substitute asset provision. If they can't find it, then they want to sub it out. Okay? And then it is signed by the foreperson and Damian Williams, who is the U.S. attorney who presented the information to the grand jury. All right, guys. So tell me what you think. Tell me in your comments. Are you surprised? For me, like how it took 6 months is kind of surprising. Although I do know the feds, they will build a really rock solid case before they come after someone. But are you surprised about anything that you see in this indictment? Diddy's lawyer has come out and said, oh, he's innocent. So we know he's going to defend himself. We know he's going to take it to trial, or at least it looks like he is right now. Even though that Cassie video, I don't know why he would. I don't know. I don't know why he wasn't in Vietnam hiding, because they don't have extradition there. I was surprised to hear he was in the U.S. So, I don't know, man. Let me know your thoughts. Please share your comments below. Make sure you hit like. Make sure you hit subscribe. Thank you for joining me. I will for sure be following the Diddy case, so make sure you hit the bell. You can get notifications and see the next time I come talk about him. Have a wonderful day.